Hello, welcome back to my channel. So, are 3 reading games in 1 month enough for one reader? No, they're not. So, I was watching Steve Donoghue's relatively new video, which I will put a link in the description because it was really a good video, on types of biographies, sort of laying out 4 types of biographies based on accuracy and accuracy and readability or enjoyability. I think his term was a little bit better than what I tried to paraphrase. Oh my goodness. Anyway, there's the accurate but boring. There's the accurate and actually interesting. There's the inaccurate and boring, and the inaccurate and interesting, which would be like basically a fictionalization, but it's not called fiction, that kind of thing. Anyway, Steve Donoghue has reviewed a lot of biographies and reads a ton of biographies. He's definitely one of the booktubers I look to for videos when I want that kind of suggestions for what to read. Because he definitely knows this stuff. He's read a bunch of biographies on any person I want to read a biography on. So I highly recommend him if you are into nonfiction biographies and grown-up books that a lot of people on Booktube actually don't read. I read a lot of that, and I read a lot of the other stuff. So anyway, I was watching that video, and he mentioned People April. It is People April. Like, oh, what is this? So I had to look it up, and it is yet another reading event that goes on all month in April with prompts. I don't know if I'm going to get to the prompts. I won't go through them on this video because I'm not sure how invested I am in following the prompts. However, I am reading a lot of biographies, and I'll probably go through the prompts at the end of the month and see what I've accidentally done out of the prompts. So I'll go through them at the end of the month and show you guys what I read. But I'm not doing a prompt by prompt TBR. I tried that for March Mystery Madness, and you saw how well that went. It didn't. I read a lot of mysteries. They didn't really meet the prompts. I certainly did not read the TBR that I made for March Mystery Madness at all. I certainly never read a book with a quilt on the cover, or a cat on the cover, even. Like, how did I not read a mystery with a cat on the cover? Like, who am I? Anyway, so I'm not gonna worry about prompts for that one. It's already my 4th reading event for April, counting, of course, my reading as if I'm in 1997, which is my own thing. Maybe next year I'll have a catchy name for it and it'll be a thing. Maybe in April, maybe not. I do like it going with old school April because everything that I am reading for April, guaranteed, except for my ARCs, I do have that caveat, and the books for the Dublin Literary Award for 2024, which are only again being read during Nicole at Dusty Book Sniffers reading sprints. The only time this month I get to read modern books is during her sprints. The rest of the time I'm reading the old stuff, which to me doesn't feel that old because there's no way it was that long ago. Right. With the exception, and I will talk about that right now, just to get out of the way, there is one book that I already had checked out from the library that I am fundamentally sort of allergic to returning it unread. I'll show you this book. You might remember it. I've showed it previous. This book, Companion Piece by Ali Smith. I am reading this book this week. As a matter of fact, I will probably start it tonight so that I can finish it as soon as possible, so that it's not a lingering exception that doesn't happen to be on Dublin Literary Award. Because last time I returned an Ali Smith book unread to my library, I was thinking, oh, that's what libraries are for. I'll return it and then I'll check it out again later when I want to read it. It was lost. The library lost it after I turned it in, but before it made it to the shelf. And it took 2 years for them to get a replacement. That was for Winter, part of the autumnal quartet, or part of the seasonal quartet. Sorry. So I read Autumn, and then I had to skip Winter and go to Spring and Summer, and then go back to Winter when they finally got it. And I had to wait the 2 years because I had to wait for a new edition to come out so that I could put an ISBN for the new edition in the books that they need to acquire, because it was more than 2 years old by the time I read it, or would have been reading it, and it got lost. Anyway, and you can only put in a purchase request to the library as a patron if the book is less than 2 years old. So I had to wait till there was a new edition, and then as soon as I saw there was one, I put the request in and they bought it, and all was good. But that was tedious, and I know that it's not likely to happen again just because it's Ali Smith. But that was a long ordeal for a book. So now that I have it in my hot little hands, this book is going to stay with me till it is read, and I don't want to keep it all month unread if I don't have to. So this is the exception. There's also a sort of exception that's kind of in the same ballpark as like the books that are carryovers from previous months that don't count for readathons, that kind of thing. Because I did start book 4 of Brandon Sanderson's Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarian series right at the end of the month, and then stuff happened, and instead of focusing on reading, I had to be focusing on stuff, so I didn't actually get to finish this book. But the bookmark is actually past the halfway point on this book. So for most reading games and challenges where there's points involved or anything like that, it wouldn't count anyway. So I am going to try and finish this one as well this week. This one is mine. It was a deaccessioned book from our library. And I think it's the last in the series. I think I'll be done with the Alcatraz books when I finish this one, unless there's more since this cover was printed. Anyway, so if there are more, I won't be reading them until May, but this one will be done this week. So everything else I'm reading either is a Dublin Literary Award book. There are a lot of them. There's still 70 books on the long list for the 2024 Dublin Literary Award, which is part of what attracted me to reading this long list, because it's so nicely long. But aside from those and the arcs that I have from NetGalley and in print, everything else is already old school. It already is nostalgic just by virtue of it being something I could be reading in 97. So anyway, I do have one arc that I am currently reading. Nicole sprinted for me last night. She's in Australia, so her days and my days are not called the same thing at the same time. Yeah. But so she was sprinting yesterday, and I started working my way through this arc. And I'm really enjoying this book. This is one I got as a Goodreads giveaway. It's called The Talented Mrs. Mandelbaum by Marguerite Fox. This book is about a female crime boss, a real-life female crime boss in New York City. And how is it that I've never heard of this woman before? Yeah, super cool. It's also focusing in on Little Germany, like parts of New York City that were basically a German village within the city of New York. And I have ancestors that were there that probably were living in the same street as this woman. Or at least nearby. They probably did interact with her or deal with her pickpockets or, yeah, same world. So I'm enjoying that part too. But yeah, female crime boss. This seems to be the year for reading biographical books about con women and, female pirate bosses, and because I read that book about the lady pirate queen from China in, was it January? It was for the TBR-thon, I believe. But anyway, that was this year. And the book about female confidence tricksters. So yeah, it's been a theme. I'm kind of liking it. This is fun. But anyway, if you're looking for a good biography, especially for nonfiction November, because this one's going to come out in July, I highly recommend this biography. So, Talented Mrs. Mandelbaum. So that's what I'm currently reading. And I also went through all those books that I set aside as being valid for this month that are 1997 or earlier. I went through those stacks and pulled some biographies. It says something about my collection that I have so many biographies on hand that I have not read yet. So let me show you some of the biographies I'm looking forward to reading this month that I might actually get to. So here we go. I'll do those. Alrighty. So this one's one my sister recommended. She's actually read it. She said it was readable. It was pretty good. And I did really like the MacArthur biography that she had me read. So it might be good. This is General H. Norman Schwarzkopf and the autobiography, It Doesn't Take a Hero. Might be good. If my sister's any judge, and she has similar taste to me in a lot of books. I am going to try to finish this book. You guys have seen this one popping up last year and this year, and I've read a couple of the Caesars at this point. I'm not on the same Caesar as I was the first or second time this book popped up on my TBR. But it's just a book. It really shouldn't take this long. It's not even very fat. It does have something like 6-point font. Who does this in a book? 6-point font. Seriously. They could have made it a bigger book and it would have been easier to read. Anyway, aside from that, it's readable, it's interesting. I'm going to try and finish this one this month. Then I have The Agony and the Ecstasy, a great bestseller about Michelangelo by Irving Stone. I read another Irving Stone book, I think it was in November, about Camille Pissarro. And I'm guessing this is a fictionalized biography, because that's what the Pissarro book was. So a novel, but it's basically a biography. It's just, you can't know what they said to each other in scenes unless it was in some letter or something. So yeah, it's a fictionalization of a biography on Michelangelo, is my guess. Hannibal by Harold Lamb. Another one my sister recommended. This is one that my sister owns, and it's here now, and when I finish it, she gets to read it. Education of a Wandering Man by Louis L'Amour. It is a memoir by Louis L'Amour. I've read maybe 70-75% of Louis L'Amour's books at this point, so it seems appropriate to get to his memoir. Wilkes, His Life and Crimes, a novel by Winston Schoonover. So another novelization biography sort of book. I don't know how close this one is to being accurate. Getting to Steve's 4 biography types. But it should be readable, hopefully. If it's not readable and not accurate, then what is it doing? But I think that one will be okay. This is one I picked up that I showed in my book haul, I believe. Jamaica Kincaid, The Autobiography of My Mother, which I've heard of several times. I think maybe even once or twice on other people's videos. But it's one that I've had on my radar for a while. This one is obviously a novel, but is based around a true person and a true story. So Schindler's List by Thomas Keneally, which I've never read, and I really feel like I ought to. Into Thin Air, a personal account of the Mount Everest disaster. So not quite a biography, but kind of in that vein. By John Krakauer. Coming of Age in the Milky Way. Another one that's more of a history than a biography, but it does zero in on very specific people. And I took a class in undergrad on the history of science. One of my favorite electives. It was fun. And I got an A+, and lots of really nice stuff on all my papers. It's one of those classes that you're like, oh, I'm really smart. It's great. It was really just a good class and a fascinating subject, and kind of philosophy and how the way you think about the structure of the universe or the structure of matter or whatever changes the kinds of questions you can ask, and changes how you do other things based on how you think the universe works. So this is another history of science book. And I think it covers Copernicus and Galileo. I haven't read it, but I think that's kind of what it's about, is Copernicus and Galileo and that other guy. Anyway, I'll talk more about it once I've read it, because I do intend to actually read it this month. I'm not sure if I read this one back in 2004. I didn't really do a very good job of recording my books in 2004. And I'm guessing if I read this one, it was that year. A Hole in the Sky, a memoir by William Kittredge. So kind of a rangeland, Louis L'Amour-esque setting, but a memoir. You guys are gonna fall over. There we go. I got Three Who Made a Revolution, a true classic. I don't know how accurate this book is. I'm guessing there's a lot of criticism of it by now because it's a classic. I have another copy of this as well. This one is only volume 1. I have another copy that is not nearly as artistic, but is the whole thing. So between this one and that one, I'll read the whole thing. This is from a series, I think it might be Time that put these out. Yeah, Time magazine. They did this really cool series of books that have art covers. And I ended up with a bunch of them off a free shelf when I lived in a town near where I did college. So I don't know how many books there were in this series. They were just what people dropped off there. But I really like them. I also have Wind, Sand, and Stars by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. That one is lovely. And I have a few others that even if I don't like the books, the covers are just pretty. This one I'm not quite so fond of, but it's still cooler than a plain black cover with gilding on the print on the spine. So anyway, I think that's what the other one looks like. Then speaking of Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, this one's another one that I showed in my haul video. And I'm definitely going to try and get to this one soon. It is Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, His Life and Times by Curtis Cate. So that's some of the biographies that I'm looking forward to. There are more. There are definitely more. This is just the ones that were more likely to end up being read this month. I'll show you what I actually read at the end of the month. And I'll do some weekly updates and touch on some of them before then, so it's not a 3-hour long video at the end of the month. Because, this is not really a wrap-up either. But I'll just say, in March, I finished 46 books. I think that's about it. I need to double check the numbers, see if I missed any. Because if anything, it might be low by 1 or 2, but 46 books in March. I've finished more than 120 books going into April for this year. So I'm going to definitely try and make sure to do those weekly wrap-up videos. If I don't, my monthly wrap-up videos are going to be so long they're practically unwatchable for the most of the people that watch my videos. There are some people that like the long videos. But, I'm going to try and not do that to everybody. Weekly update videos. Every once in a while, I'll pop in and do extra videos when I have things I really want to talk about. This one was I started a new event, and I wanted to gush about the book I've been really enjoying. I did finish a couple books finally. It's the third, and actually officially here it is now the fourth. We have crossed over into past midnight now. So it's the fourth now, and I've finished 3 books in April so far. So for me, given the rate at which I've been reading books this year, I'm slowing down a little bit. I think it's the eyeball reading thing. There aren't as many books published before 97 that have audiobooks on Libby. There are some. And I did start The Long Journey, or The Longest Journey by E.M. Forster, because I found it as an ebook or as an audiobook on Libby. I was like, oh, I have that one on my shelves. I don't know which shelf right now, but I know I saw it. I know it's somewhere in my stacks of books for this month. So I'm listening to that one as an audiobook, because otherwise all the audiobooks I have so far on Libby are, or were as of before tonight, books that I can only listen to during Nicole's sprints. Yeah. So I also checked out the Bell Jar. So I will listen to that when I finish with the E.M. Forster book. So it'll be a good month for classics. But I'm going a little slower because other than those, most of what my reading is going to be this month is actually with my little eyeballs, which I don't normally do as much of anymore. Because when you're on audiobook, you can do other things and listen at the same time. So it means you can not have to choose between doing the other stuff you're supposed to do and reading your book. So anyway, it'll be a weird month. Once I get used to the reading with eyeballs thing, I probably will speed up again. And I have finished 3 books, and it's only about an hour or 2 into the 4th. So things may pick up. It's not bad. Some of these biographies are a bit chunky. Although the fattest books that I got in my haul video that are biographies are published after 97. So I don't have to read them this month anyway. They will probably be books for November is my guess. Anyway. Oh, and Dewey's Readathon is the 13th. So a week from this Saturday. So I will do videos talking about that more in detail, getting closer to the actual event, because we don't really do much on YouTube for Dewey's yet. We might, as in I might, once I get better at things like sprints. I will be making my sprint on-screen debut probably next week for the group read of Rebecca, which started out as me and Coda and Nicole reading Rebecca and turned into me and Coda and Nicole and a bunch of other people reading Rebecca. And now there's a thread on my Discord for it, which I will put my Discord in the description. Probably not a permanent Discord link. It will eventually expire, because, I'm not sure about putting permanent links on things that I don't want to delete later. But there will be a link for my Discord that will work for a little while. We'll be doing Rebecca next week during Nicole's sprints midweek. It's only something like a 7 or 8 hour audiobook. So at 2 times speed, it actually works out to be a couple sprints worth of listening. So we may actually start and finish during those sprints, which tend to be really long anyway. And then we're going to start the Deep End of the Ocean by Jacquelyn Mitchard. Yes. So we'll be starting Deep End of the Ocean after Rebecca. I will probably start reading it during the Dewey's Readathon. But as an admin for Dewey's, I do get a lot of reading done. I've structured my work running Dewey's so that I can still read. But it's not nearly as much as if I wasn't also being an admin. So I doubt that I'll get past like the first 100 pages during Dewey's. So I think if you want to read along on that one, that's great. I will probably be aiming to get through the first fourth of the book by the end of the Dewey's weekend. So that's kind of what's going on. And I also made a thread on my Discord for the English patient, which Coda doesn't have time for this month. Otherwise, he would be joining in. I do want to get through it this month, so I am going to read it. If anyone else is interested in reading the English patient this month, definitely join me. There is a thread in the Discord for it. I will start it probably when I finish The Deep End of the Ocean at my reading pace. Probably second half of April, I will be getting to the English patient. For me, it'll take about 2 days. If I really get on a roll, or if I find the audiobook, 1 day. So the threads are going to be up, and if you don't read at my pace or at the same time, that's cool. Put your comments in the spoiler tags if you know how to do that. And, we'll chat about the books. And all three of them look like really great reads, and not nearly as depressing as the Women's Prize long list books that several people are slogging their way through. I did just finish Crick Crack by Edwige Danticat. She writes a lot of books set in Haiti or Dominican Republic, the same island divided in half, very violent division, and the stuff that's gone on in that island is horrible. Every book I've read set in that setting is a heavy topic, basically. One of those places, like, sometimes it's heartwarming. I've read heartwarming novels set in Dominican Republic and Haiti. But there's still this background of just people are evil. And her books are always so well written. They're lovely writing. And she does build in a lot of, even with all this evil, there's still good in the world. There's still these amazing people, and people that will take risks to help other people despite the fact that they're literally risking everything. And so they're heartwarming, but you can only read so many in a month. So Crick Crack would have been coming out as a recent release if I was a booktuber in 97. So it would definitely be a book that booktubers would have been talking about back then. And it is really good. I do recommend it. Just buddy read it, or read it with something lighter interspersed so that you don't get overwhelmed. It is a heavy book, but it's not very long and very good. And I'll talk more about what I've read at the end of the first full week of April. So it is coming on the 4th, probably about 3 days. I will do a wrap up for the week. In the meantime, I'm going to finish my wine. This is the goblet I chose for Wine Down Wednesday this week. It is crystal. It is not cut crystal. It's probably pressed glass, but it is leaded glass. It's very pretty. I'm trying to get some of that pattern. It kind of looks like a petal from the top, but I'm not going to show you the top because there's wine in it. And I've been drinking Pinot Grigio this week. I'm going to try and actually show my goblets when I do videos on Wednesdays. That might even be a thing. I haven't done a schedule. Maybe I should do a video schedule. Or at least sort of. I don't know. I don't like being boxed in, but if I did a video Wednesday evenings, I could show my goblets, and you could actually see what I've been drinking out of. Instead of cramming them all into one video, I'm going to do some goblet ID videos once I get more ID'd. It's hard identifying goblets from pictures on the internet. It really is. Because in hand, they're so different. You pick up this goblet, it's obviously not the same maker as some of the other goblets that from a distance look very, very similar. This one's been fire smoothed, which means when you touch the jagged bits, they're not jagged anymore, they're smoothed. So it makes it feel nice in your hand. I have another one that feels really sharp on the corners that has not been fire smoothed. So there's things like that you don't see just from a picture. So it's proving really challenging identifying all the goblets from every week so far this year. But that will be coming up eventually. So yeah, maybe every Wednesday I'll try and do at least a brief, touching base with everybody and show my goblet. Anyway, I will sign off before this video gets any longer. Hopefully everybody is doing well. Let me know if you've read any of these biographies or biography-esque books, or if you are doing People April and what you are reading. And I will catch you again in a couple days. And yeah, tune in if you're reading Rebecca or just want to join in for sprints, for Nicole's sprints next week. They start Tuesday night for me, but they're her Wednesday sprints because she's in Australia and it's so confusing. And I will hopefully, if it works, actually be on screen for my debut on-screen appearance during a live feed. So yeah, should be exciting. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys!